a gripping, nightmarish trip in which unjust imprisonment reveals society's uniformity and defiance's profound impact. It is about breaking free from metaphorical boxes and demonstrating the human spirit's adaptability. A woman is trapped inside a metal prison box. She has been trying to survive, withstanding every threat she faces. Spoiler ahead! Watch out! This movie opens in Australia and depicts the year 2053. According to the narrator, since the previous conflict, the crime rate has increased by more than 800%, causing a tremendous surge in the jail system. To reduce the burden on jails, the government implemented the Box Rehabilitation Program, which gives offenders the option of serving their time in solitary confinement or volunteering for quick elimination. Once within the box, food and drink will only be provided with the approval of law-abiding residents. Anyone caught trying to get away or helping in such attempts will be brutally killed. We then observe a French woman imprisoned within one of these jail boxes. She seemed to be combating to survive without food or drink. At one point, she becomes overwhelmed by the pain to the point of breaking down. As a result, she pulls out a little razor blade from a corner and violently cuts her own neck. In the following scene, we see a rocky island with several prison boxes. A girl and a little boy appear to be playing using a rubber ball. Eventually, the ball hits one of the boxes. This assisted prisoner 371113, who was trapped inside and regaining consciousness. When she wakes up, she discovers that she is tied with ropes. She angrily pounds against the box walls, demanding to be released. At that point, a small screen shows a woman informing her that the jury has found her guilty and sentenced her to 7 years of rehabilitation without parole. She further claims that her water and food will be provided simply at the judgment of the citizens she betrayed. Hearing this, the prisoner yells in tears, arguing about her innocence. When prisoner wakes up the next day, she waves her food container and asks for water. However, there is actually no one available to respond. After that, she begins checking the entire box in the hopes that she will discover a way out, but each touch causes an electrical shock. Survival becomes increasingly difficult over time. Meanwhile, in yet another prison box, prisoner 13558 searches for a path to freedom. While checking, she unintentionally triggers an alarm, causing a red light to flash. As a result, a sharp metal rod falls from the ceiling and ruthlessly strikes her to death. The next morning, prisoner 371113 is awakened by a young woman who offers her some food and water. The prisoner attempts to convey her innocence, but the woman insists that the citizens will decide what happens to her. She goes on to say that she is neither the first nor the last prisoner that they will have. Following this, the prisoner suffers many days under limited food and water, eventually falling victim to negativism and sadness. As a result, she grabs a rope off the floor and tries to kill herself. She begins choking herself till she runs out of breath, and then she stops herself just in time since she has no way to continue. She then screams loudly, questioning what she had done to place herself in such a difficulty. Over time, she accepts her destiny and uses other distractions to deal with her condition. She begins to pass her days looking out through a little gap and lying down. One day, she reaches her hand outside and picks up the rubber ball. This gives her yet another method to pass the time. After several weeks, a drone carries the prisoner's box to a new site that appears to be a forest. The next scene brings us to another prisoner. He has a 5-year sentence under code number 180102 and has served half of it inside the box. After 2.5 years there, he has accepted that his detention is justified owing to the consequences of his previous behavior. One morning, the woman who was carried to the forest gets spotted by a girl dressed in blue. She inquires as to what she is doing, and the prisoner responds that she has been serving a 7-year sentence. The girl begins a discussion, asking whether or not she has heard of William Shakespeare. The prisoner responds negatively. The girl gives her a book to read. However, she declines to accept it, stating that she is not allowed to perform such things during her rehabilitation period. During their chat, the girl requests prisoner to get closer, afterwards which she grabs her hands and speaks a few words from Shakespeare's book, helping her feel much better. Following that, the girl offers her a tiny bag of food pellets and leaves, promising to come back later. The prisoner feels energized by an emotional connection after such a long absence. Later, while eating, she discovers a little book concealed inside the food packet. She turns away from the security camera and then opens it, just to discover that it is a copy of William Shakespeare's book. The prisoner then cleans herself with the water she saved, avoiding her wound wounds getting infected. Then she uses the opening to pour the utilized water outside. She is taken back to the seaside after the CCTV camera captures her wasting the drinking water. When the same civilian girl from before approaches her a little later to inquire about how she got here, then the prisoner questions how the citizens choose who among all the inmates gets fed, rather than giving a straight reply to the inquiry. The girl acknowledges that all she does is walk around the boxes, speak with the prisoners, and offer them food. She claims that although she makes an effort to connect with as many individuals as she can, harsh weather regularly prevents her from performing that. The imprisoned woman informs her all over their conversation that she makes her think of her deceased younger sister. She is still isolated, and her sole means of peace is the little book that she conceals from the camera and reads on a daily basis. A few days later, a drone takes her somewhere else again. A citizen approaches her there and playfully eats an apple directly in front of her. The prisoner begs the man to be kind to her as she is very hungry, but he brutally refuses. According to him, there should be no mercy shown to any prisoner, and they should all be put to death. However, he is prepared to give her his apple, providing she grants him the satisfaction of what he needs. Hunger to death, the prisoner unwillingly accepts the situation even though it is beyond the law. Then she pulls down her underwear and gives him what he wants. A monitoring drone spots him in the middle of this illegal trade and starts shooting, quickly killing him. The prisoner is also shot. One of the bullets strikes her leg and severely wounds her. She still reaches the ground and takes the apple from the dead man. She eats it right away, but to her great disappointment, it is full of worms, which makes her throw up. The same night, a voice informs her that she has broken the prison's rules by giving permission to be traded for food. The individual who speaks says that insomnia for 7 days is the first and last warning. That's why the next few days are unbearable for her. Every time she shuts her eyes, the lights flicker and a massive alarm sounds. She damages herself by pounding her head against the wall in an attempt to keep herself from sleeping. In addition, the extended lack of sleep sends her into a psychotic condition in which she sees a person who looks like herself in a mirror. After the full 7 days, her punishment is ultimately over. She eventually obtains the much-needed rest for her exhausted brain, and she sleeps for days as a result. The woman hears an explosion of fireworks one night, where she looks outside and notices the bright fireworks and flowering sky. It appears that people everywhere are celebrating the new year. Freedom is proclaimed for the detainees in isolation cells in observance of this occasion, with the exception of those with political convictions. One day, an elderly woman approaches the prison box and talks with the prisoner. She talks about her own terrifying experience of spending 15 years in similar imprisonment and admits that it made her a strong but disappointing person. After that, she throws an old rusty razor blade in the prisoner's direction and turns to go. The same Shakespeare fan from earlier approaches the imprisoned woman once again in the next scene. The girl reminds the prisoner that she is real, even though at first she seems to be an illusion. She then makes an offer of water to her and reads loudly another passage from Shakespeare's book. Though the experience is temporary, it offers a brief break from her chronic suffering. A few months later, when the movie returns, the prisoner's tummy has grown. This is when we find out that she is currently expecting the man's child, who had a deal with her for an apple. The girl who is crazy about Shakespeare visits prisoner at night and says she wants to free her. However, the security system senses the impending threat and recognizes the interference, setting off the alarm. The girl quickly leaves, and the siren ceases. A civilian approaches the prisoner the next morning and inquires about wanting mercy. The man shows her another prison box from a distance that appears to have burned down. When she realizes this, she chooses to carry on with her horrible life rather than receive such mercy. After a few more months, she begins to go into labor. She eventually gives birth to her child inside the box after surviving suffering for a considerable amount of time. She forgets the agony she had been going through for so long, immediately after she actually holds the baby tightly in her arms. Her joy is short-lived, though, as the security system detects an additional soul in the room right away. Consequently, a gas is released, acting as an anesthetic and knocking her out. Her baby is gone by the moment she gets back. She starts to sob hysterically and screams to have her baby back. Instead, as usual, her requests are ignored. At one point, her box gets pounded by both sea waves and rainfall, causing water to fill it. She starts to tremble from the cold as the chamber fills with water. Moreover, water causes a glitch in the security system, which interprets her presence as a breach of the confinement. As a result, the outside officials, who have no idea about the actual situation, threaten to dispose dispose of the prisoner if the disruption is not removed in a matter of seconds. As the countdown begins, the prisoner fights to stay afloat in the increasing water. Soon after, the clock reaches 0 and the drone arrives to transfer her for elimination. Yet the drone gets struck by lightning, forcing the box to crash into the water. In the final scene, we witness some citizens enjoying themselves on the sandy shore while they notice a prison box washed ashore along with a prisoner. However, they chose to ignore the situation and walk out of the scene, leaving the unconscious prisoner. We really hope you enjoyed today's recap of the movie box Metaphor. Please leave a comment below on what you loved about the movie and why. Be sure to like the video and please don't forget to support our channel by subscribing so you don't miss any amazing content. Until next time, light, camera, action. We look forward to seeing you in our next video.